and left her fortune to her cats instead of family. Am I the asshole for contesting the will? I, 34F, come from a fairly large family. My dad is one of 5 siblings, and I have a bunch of cousins. We're not the closest knit group, but we generally get along and see each other at major holidays and family events. The star of this story is my late Aunt Mildred. She was my dad's older sister, and to say she was eccentric would be the understatement of the century. Aunt Mildred never married or had kids. Instead, she dedicated her life to 2 things: her work as a successful investment banker and her cats. When I say she was dedicated to her cats, I mean it. Her house was a feline paradise. Custom-built cat trees in every room, heated beds, automated feeders, you name it. She had a personal chef who prepared gourmet meals for her fur babies, her words, not mine. At any given time, she had between 15 to 20 cats living with her. Growing up, visits to Aunt Mildred's house were interesting. The place was immaculate, mind you. She had a team of housekeepers who kept it spotless. But the sheer number of cats was overwhelming. As a kid, I remember being both fascinated and a little freaked out by the way those cats seemed to rule the roost. Aunt Mildred wasn't particularly close to any of us. She'd show up to family gatherings, make polite conversation, and then retreat to her cat-filled mansion. We all knew she was wealthy, very wealthy, but she was pretty private about her finances. Fast forward to last month. Aunt Mildred passed away at the age of 72. It was sad, of course, but not entirely unexpected. She'd been in declining health for a while. The real shock came when the will was read. Aunt Mildred, it turns out, was worth a lot more than any of us realized. We're talking about an estate valued at nearly $30 million. The house alone is worth $5 million. And she left it all to her cats. You read that right. Every last penny, the house, everything, it's all going into a trust for the care and maintenance of her 17 cats for the rest of their natural lives. She even specified that any kittens born to her current cats would also be beneficiaries of the trust. The will stipulates that a full-time caretaker is to be hired to live in the house and look after the cats. The chef is to be retained to continue preparing their meals. There are even provisions for a veterinarian to make weekly house calls to ensure the cat's health. Once the last cat dies, whatever is left of the fortune is to be donated to various animal charities. To say the family is in uproar would be putting it mildly. My dad and his siblings are furious. My cousins are alternating between disbelief and rage. As for me, I'm conflicted. On one hand, it was Aunt Mildred's money. She earned it, and she had the right to do whatever she wanted with it. And it's not like any of us were particularly close to her or dependent on an inheritance. But on the other hand, $30 million. To cats. It just seems so wasteful. That money could do so much good for the family. My younger brother is struggling with student loan debt. My cousin's kid needs special medical care that insurance won't fully cover. My parents are looking at a pretty lean retirement. And let's be real, 17 cats don't need $30 million. Even with the most lavish care imaginable, there's no way they'll burn through that much money in their lifetimes. So, here's where I might be the asshole. I've been talking to a lawyer about the possibility of contesting the will. Apparently, there might be grounds to challenge it on the basis that Aunt Mildred wasn't of sound mind when she made these arrangements. My argument would be that leaving such an enormous fortune to cats, to the exclusion of all family, is evidence of mental instability. The lawyer thinks we might have a case, especially if we can get testimony from people who knew Aunt Mildred about her unusual attachment to her cats. Some of the family is on board with this plan. They see it as righting a wrong, making sure Aunt Mildred's fortune goes to people who could really use it instead of being wasted on cats. Others, though, think it's disrespectful to go against Aunt Mildred's wishes. They say we should honor her decisions, even if we don't agree with them. And then there's the PR angle to consider. If this gets out to the media, and let's face it, a story like this probably would, we'd likely face a lot of backlash. I can already imagine the headlines: greedy family tries to steal from cats. So, Reddit, here I am, trying to figure out if I'm the asshole for even considering this. On the pro-contestation side. 1. $30 million could genuinely help a lot of people in my family. 2. It seems mentally unsound to leave that much money to cats. 3. The money would likely do more good in human hands than being spent on luxury cat care. On the anti-contestation side. 1. It was Aunt Mildred's money and her choice. 2. Contesting the will feels disrespectful to her memory. 3. The potential public backlash could be severe. Edit 1. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the responses. I'm reading through them all and will try to answer some of the most common questions here. 1. Yes, Aunt Mildred was always of sound mind as far as we knew. She was sharp as a tack right up until the end. Her cat obsession wasn't new, she'd been this way for decades. 2. No, she never indicated to any of us that she was planning to leave her money to the cats. We all just assumed it would be split among family or go to charity. 3. For those asking about the cat's breeds, it's a real mix. Some are fancy breeds like Bengals and Maine Coons, but others are rescues. Aunt Mildred didn't discriminate when it came to cats. 4. A lot of you are asking if she left anything to the family at all. The answer is, kind of. Each of her siblings, including my dad, got a small porcelain cat figurine. That's it. 5. To the people suggesting we just catnap the cats, that's not happening. It's not their fault, and we're not going to harm innocent animals. 6. Yes, we're sure about the $30 million figure. The lawyer read us a summary of the assets. It's mostly investments and the house. I'll keep reading and might update again later. Thanks for all the input, even the ones calling me an asshole. It's giving me a lot to think about. Edit 2. Okay, so this has continued to generate a lot of discussion, and I've had some time to reflect. I want to address a few more points and share some developments. 1. To those who've asked, yes, we did reach out to the executor of the will for more details. Apparently, Aunt Mildred left extensive instructions. The trust is set up to provide for a full-time, live-in caretaker, salary, benefits, the works, continued service from her personal chef for the cat's meals, weekly vet visits, grooming services, regular house maintenance, property taxes and utilities, a fund for emergency medical care, toys, beds, and other cat supplies as needed. 2. Many of you have pointed out that $30 million is excessive even for this level of care. You're right. The executor explained that the bulk of the money is to be invested, with only the returns used for the cat's care. This is to ensure the money lasts for the cat's entire lives, however long that may be. 3. A lot of you have asked about Aunt Mildred's relationship with the family. I'll be honest, it was complicated. She wasn't close with any of us, but there wasn't any big falling out or drama. She just preferred her cats. Looking back, I think she might have been on the autism spectrum, though she was never diagnosed. She always struggled with human interactions but was incredibly loving towards her cats. 4. To those suggesting that one of us should offer to be the caretaker, believe me, that thought has crossed our minds. However, the will is very specific about hiring a professional caretaker with experience in caring for multiple cats. It even names a few cat sanctuaries to reach out to for candidates. 5. Some of you have asked if Aunt Mildred supported animal charities while she was alive. The answer is yes, very generously. We've learned she was a major donor to several local animal shelters and cat rescue organizations. 6. A few people have suggested that this might be a case of undue influence, like maybe someone from an animal charity pressured her into this. We've found no evidence of that. By all accounts, this was entirely Aunt Mildred's idea. Now, for the development. After a lot of thought and family discussions, we've decided not to contest the will. Here's why. 1. The lawyer we consulted said that while we might have a case, it would be an uphill battle. Aunt Mildred was clearly eccentric, but there's no real evidence she was mentally unsound. She was sharp and independent until the end. 2. Even if we won, it would likely eat up a significant portion of the estate in legal fees. 3. The potential backlash isn't worth it. A few family members work in fields where this kind of publicity could really hurt their careers. 4. Ultimately, it was her money. As weird as her choice might seem to us, we need to respect it. Instead, we're looking into setting up a family foundation with our own resources. It won't be anything close to $30 million, but it's a start. We're thinking of focusing on education and medical needs within the family, and possibly expanding to our community if we can. We're also going to reach out to the executor about possibly being involved in some way with the care of the cats. Not as the main caretakers, but maybe we could visit, or help socialize them. It might be a way to honor Aunt Mildred's memory and stay connected to a part of her life that was so important to her. It's not the outcome any of us expected, but I think we're finding a way to make peace with it. And who knows? Maybe caring about these cats will bring our family closer together. Stranger things have happened. Edit 3, 6 months later. Wow, I didn't expect to be updating this post again, but here we are. A lot has happened in the past 6 months, And I thought some of you might be interested in how things have turned out. First, the cats. They're doing well. The executor found a wonderful caretaker, a retired veterinary technician who specializes in geriatric cat care. She moved into Aunt Mildred's house and has been taking excellent care of the cats. We've visited a few times, and I have to admit, seeing how happy and well cared for these cats are. It's kind of heartwarming. The caretaker, let's call her Sarah, has been incredibly gracious about letting family members visit. She's even started a private Instagram account where she posts daily updates about the cats. It's become a weird sort of family bonding thing. We all follow it and often chat about the latest cat antics in our family group chat. Now, here's where things get interesting. Remember how I mentioned that Aunt Mildred specified that any kittens born to her cats would also be beneficiaries of the trust? Well, it turns out one of her cats was pregnant when she died. The kitty had a litter of 5 about a month after Aunt Mildred passed. This caused a bit of a stir because it effectively extended the lifespan of the trust. But here's the thing, Sarah came to us with a proposal. She suggested that family members might like to adopt these kittens. The trust would still provide for their care, vet bills, food, etc., but they would live with family members. After some discussion, we decided to go for it. My brother adopted one of the kittens, I took one, and 3 of my cousins each took one. It's been surprisingly lovely. These kittens have become a living connection to Aunt Mildred. My little girl absolutely adores our kitten and loves hearing stories about her great aunt and her cat paradise. As for the family foundation I mentioned in my last edit, we've made some progress there too. We've officially established it and have already been able to help with my cousin's child's medical bills and my brother's student loans. It's not $30 million, but it's making a real difference. But here's the kicker, and the reason I decided to post this update. Last week, we had a family meeting with the estate's executor. It turns out that the investments Aunt Mildred left have been doing exceptionally well. So well, in fact, that the trust has more money than it could possibly need for the cat's care. The executor, in consultation with the lawyer who drew up the will, has determined that they can release some of the funds to the family without going against Aunt Mildred's wishes. They're setting up a scholarship fund for family members, with priority given to those pursuing veterinary medicine or any animal-related field. It's not access to the full $30 million, but it's significant. More importantly, it feels like a compromise that honors both Aunt Mildred's love for her cats and her connection to her family. Looking back, I'm glad we didn't contest the will. This outcome feels right in a way that I can't fully explain. It's like Aunt Mildred found a way to take care of both her feline and human families. We're also in talks about turning part of Aunt Mildred's house into a small cat sanctuary once her original cats have passed on. The idea is to work with local shelters to provide a home for older cats who are harder to adopt out. It would keep Aunt Mildred's legacy alive while also doing some good for cats in need. So, that's where we are now. It's not what any of us expected, but I think we've all grown from this experience. We've learned about respecting others' wishes, the importance of clear estate planning, and yes, even gained a new appreciation for cats. Aunt Mildred, wherever you are, I hope you're pleased. Your cats are happy, your family is closer than ever, and your love for animals is inspiring a new generation. Who knew that a $30 million cat inheritance could have such an unexpected but heartwarming outcome?